Story structure has a simple progression. You go from point A, the problem, point B, the conflict, to point C, the resolution. Getting to each place is the challenge of the writer. This is the part of the story we enjoy or hate. It could be an amazing ride like Back to the Future, or be done like The Last Jedi where they set up things, i.e. Rose and Finn are able to jump to light speed and no one follows them during the chase. Every show and movie is guilty of this. There's always going to be a flaw or a Deus Ex in order to progress the story. How it affects everything is the million-dollar issue, but there is a line, and Power Rangers has done mistakes. Things not explained, like Jake switching personality due to footage issues from Goseiger and Gokaiger, the complicated nature of transferring power in MMPR, to endlessly shoehorning in Nick's backstory. Thanks to Pablo Gildel Rodriguez for your suggestion, and if you have a topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below. I might pick yours.
Disposable Morphers.
This concept is actually a good idea. SPD has a lot of resources, so there would be morphers for other teams, but you couldn't supply everyone at once, so they created disposable morphers. They work for a limited time, good for emergencies. There's probably a stock SPD Ranger suit similar to the uncolored SPD uniforms in the pilot. The problem lies with Kat. She designs and maintains all the equipment for the SPD team that's dealing with the main Grum threat. Why doesn't she have a morpher available at all times? I know that in Deca Ranger, Deca Swan was only used one full time in the show, excluding Gokaiger, so Kat had to follow that restriction. But in Deca Ranger, they didn't say anything of her powers being limited, she just chose not to use them often because she was always busy. The next issue is disposable morphers. If you can make temp morphers, what is stopping you from giving her spares to use when needed, like in the season finale? Instead of covering up a plot hole, it creates a new plot hole. All they had to do was damage her morpher. It made the bridge-trapped episode possible. It would have worked for her.
Zordon withholding information.
When a monster attacks, Zordon and Alpha alert the Rangers. He gives them basic information and they go off to fight the monster. But half the time, he doesn't tell them how the monster fights or what the monster does. Take Bones, for example. He doesn't mention anything that he can still work when his body is broken up. They have to figure out that his head is the weakness. Why doesn't Zordon tell them this information? He somehow gets a lot of information out of nowhere, but doesn't tell the Rangers their abilities or watch out for something. He makes himself vague to the Rangers for no reason, except to annoy the audience.
Transferring the MMPR powers.
These two episodes were insane. When you think about it, why do the power coins even work like this? Season 3 reveals Ninja created the power coins, Rita created the dragon coin, and all of them could be drained away by a magical candle. But to transfer the powers to new people, it requires the team to go to another planet and pick up some sword. Why was it on another planet? Ninja is on Earth. If he made it, it'd be like leaving your printer in your old house when you move. What were you going to do if the Rangers got to the planet and the sword was destroyed or stolen? It then introduces us seeing the powers being copied. We see two sets of red, yellow, and black Rangers. I will assume everyone could be copied, so why not have more Rangers? The worst thing? Why is transferring powers this freaking complicated when creating and draining powers can be all done by the main users? Rita could drain all the coins from candles, Zordon built the White Ranger suit, build new Ranger powers, or use magic to make them. Then in Season 3, this sword isn't even used to transfer Kim's powers to Kat, so Rangers can give up their powers freely? Why not before? Both coins were made by Ninja, they should have had the same requirements. Everything falls apart.
Energem Locator.
This thing shouldn't have been created. It was a great character episode. Shelby had to prove herself to Kendall. They worked together and Fury used it and it triggered the mid-season break. So they decided to destroy it and never bring it up again. Why? Just build another one. The only reason why this was bad was because it was stolen. Just don't bring it outside. Why did it even need to leave the base? Kendall was obviously using her computers to find the Energems up to this point. Interface it into her system and keep searching, even if they needed it outside. Just protect it better, or build in a self-destruct. That way they can blow up Sledge's ship too. Why doesn't the villains try to build their own? It creates more questions than giving something good to the show. It's like the third Harry Potter book. They introduced time travel and it's never brought up or used again after that point. Don't create things that can break the universe.
Tyler's dad's disappearance.
this was a bunch of garbage. No matter how you look at it, the reason why Tyler didn't grow up with a dad was because he left in order for him to protect his family and the Energem from Fury. It sounds noble on paper, but James never at any point contacted them. He left no phone call, no physical letters telling them anything. I'm sorry. Fury has no access to the internet looking like a monster. He can't stop the post office either. Even if he could use the internet, he could have looked up James's profession and possibly located info on his family, making this plan bogus. On top of this, he tells his friend he's the Aqua Ranger. I'll repeat, he tells his friend he's the Aqua Ranger. I thought you were trying to protect people, but you tell him his life doesn't matter? But worse, he doesn't tell his wife. What's wrong with you? Your kid grew up with no father, but his digging friend gets to know everything?
Resetting the SPD team.
Team building in Power Rangers is a good thing. Everyone on SPD has their strengths and weaknesses. Jack and Z weren't trained by SPD from the beginning, so this causes problems for Sky. They don't know protocol or tactics. They have to learn it on the way. It's more annoying because Jack is the leader and Sky's not, which opens up his problem with personal wants clouding his judgment. On top of everyone doing what they want, Sid wants to go to a party, Bridge is weird, so it gets on everyone's nerves. This is how they learn to become a team. It's a process over many episodes. SPD just didn't do this right. Every time someone learned a lesson, they got used to the Bridge, or they worked really good in a Megazord fight. 2 episodes later, they fall apart and start arguing again. They taught Omega Ranger to be a team player. Don't be a jerk just because you come from the future. They were the mentors for those episodes, but that all goes out the door when they have to train to use the SWAT powers. Everyone goes right back to how they acted in the beginning of the season. This didn't just happen once. The writers took the easy way out instead of the powers themselves being the challenge, like how Carter couldn't handle the titanium morpher. The team bickered and walked away again. This is one of the reasons why people don't like SPD. This is why having an outside conflict is better than doing it with the characters, unless you can build something up that justifies their change in personality.
Info dumping in Mystic Force.
This was one of the most annoying problems that Mystic Force had. Nick being the focal point of the entire season was just not handled right. The Red Ranger is the important character of any series, but he can't be the only one that matters. It's a team effort. Everyone needs to be respected. Mystic Force episodes played out like this. Start off with plot, involve 1 or 2 Rangers, end plot, use the last minute of the episode to bring up some information involving Nick. They were trying to have a continuing thread that grew through the season till the big payoff of Nick's origin was revealed. Sounds good on paper, but you gotta have that play out through the episodes organically. Not leave it at the end, then try to force people to see it as a dramatic tension by doing cliche camera push-ins. Take Alex in Time Force, for example. He was set up right from the beginning. His fake death, the Time Shadow's secret owner, and then his reveal near the end of the season, it was far more subtle. It was a focus, but not shoved down our throats. You always wondered who built the Time Shadow and why hasn't he contacted him. It then pays off Jen's arc. She lets go of her feelings, knows that Alex wasn't right for her, and moved on. As long as you didn't watch Time Ranger before Time Force, it would have been more harder for you to guess that Alex was alive. While Nick's hidden past was obvious and forced too much with the info dumps. Kids and everyone would have guessed it early on. It didn't feel dramatic, and half the time you wanted the episode to just end.
Andros' Battlizer.
This undermined Andros too much. He's gone through so much. His sister was taken, his planet's gone, Zane was nearly killed, he didn't trust anyone, so it forced him to be cold and militaristic. He has to do everything, has to know everything. Andros knew Zordon. He trusted him with his life. He was always open to his tech, but for some reason, never tested Mode 3 on the Battlizer. I don't understand that. You've nearly died so many times, but you were too scared to test a mode on the Battlizer? Zordon would never give you something that would harm you. What made it worse? Cassie and TJ were in danger, he's staring up at them, doesn't know what to do, and Sylvie was the one who pushes the button. I love how descriptions of the episode try to make Sylvie out as being amazing. She just pushes a button. That was the entire purpose of her character. Annoy Carlos and push a button. No one cares about her. Being dramatic is fine, you just gotta do it another way. All they had to do was set up the Battlizer as always failing, tech that he didn't finish because Zordon was captured, push the button and prayed it would work.
Dropping the Zeo Powers.
If I had to pick the worst thing the Turbo movie did, it has to be them dropping the Zeo Powers. I mean, I don't even understand how this happens. Okay, we got a new Sentai season to switch to. How do we do this? Let's create new powers from nowhere. Well, what about the current powers? Who cares? They're old. No one will remember. How is that even proposed in a writer's meeting? The easiest thing to do is just use the old powers to make the new powers. It's that simple. Up to that point, Power Rangers gave us reasons why they went to something else. The original MMPR powers were not good enough, so they had to make new Zords to fight Zed. Green Ranger powers were finally drained, so White Ranger was created. The power coins were destroyed, they had to find the Zeo crystals. Every old power was gotten rid of in some way. What happened here? Thanks to this pointless screw-up, fans endlessly wonder why no one just uses the Zeo Powers. They're always available. Why create this problem? They should have eliminated things like this first. Rarely does it help explain something.
Destroying the power coins.
I'm not complaining that the coins were lost. It's the way they were lost felt pretty crummy. The second iteration of the coins were created by Ninjor, the person who actually made them. The original power coins did a lot of things. They used their powers to help out a ranger, they powered their Zords, they got upgrades, they even got nearly destroyed when the Thunder Zords were lost. It took a magic candle to drain the Green Ranger coins. Jason's powers were able to sustain 2 coins. Zordon was able to power up the Green Ranger coin for a short time. They still survived all this stuff. Why did the ninja coins turn to dust so easily? Billy used them to revert his age back to normal, and then Goldar broke them? These coins and the suits were Power Rangers for 3 years, and they get wiped out in the beginning of this episode? It was really underwhelming and not satisfying. It was more heartbreaking for the Thunder Zords being destroyed than the Ranger powers being lost. What's stopping Ninjor in creating new powers anyway? Sometimes you have to write a convenience in to keep the story flowing, like how Koda got frozen in ice and found by Kendall, where he could have been thousands of miles away, never found till later on, if ever. But there are times where things that make no sense are used to get to point B. It just shows the writers were in a corner, maybe not by choice, but it still sucks. What are the things that you hate on PR that ruin progression? New episodes every Monday. Next week, 10 good things about dimensions in danger.